Welcome to A Well-Designed Business with your host, Luann Nigara. Luann has a lifetime of experience building a multi-million-dollar business with her husband and cousin, and she knows the challenges you face in your interior design business. Luann brings you real-life answers to your most pressing problems, as well as practical strategies to explode your interior design business. So, let's get to the business of interior design.
Hey everybody, this is Luann Nigara from A Well-Designed Business podcast, and I am delighted to tell you that we are starting a new feature on our podcast, and it's called Design Biz Live. And I am so fortunate because two of my previous guests, Klassen and Judith Neary, are joining me for this feature. We're intending at this point to do it once a month, and we are going to share it to our Facebooks. We're going to share it to our YouTube channel so that you can not only hear the podcast, but you can see the podcast. And so Judith Neary is, if you recall, Judith and Corey were in episode 170 of the podcast. You should go back because that's where you'll get all the information and the background on each of these designers and their businesses, because we talked about it. And that's one of the really wonderful gifts of having the two of them as the guests for this feature, because they have completely different businesses. Corey is in the city, he's in Vancouver, and Judith is in Vashon, which is an island off of the west coast of the U.S., west coast of the U.S., and it only has 10,000 residents. And so their businesses are very different. You know, it's almost like the Zsa Zsa Gabor, like one's a little bit country and one's a little bit city, right? Green Acres.
Oh, God. Oh, my God.
I'm country. I'll call it.
So anyway, so what we're going to do is, for this first show, Corey and Judith have decided that they would like to share the top things that you as an interior designer should have locked down in your firm. In future shows, we're going to take questions to questions@windowworksnj.com. So if you're a designer listening and you would love the perspective of a seasoned, talented, successful interior designer on the top things that you struggle with in your firm, you're going to email them to me at questions@windowworksnj.com, and we will start to feature those on the show. Okay. So for today, here we go. Now, we have already discussed this, that there's the top 10 things, and then we realize it's actually the top 20 things because there's two of them. It took all three of us quite a few minutes to realize that. We create beautiful things. We don't do math for a living, let's just say. So anyway.
Well, we kind of do.
I know, that's the part. You're right. We kind of have to do math every day, right? So anyway, so we have no idea if it's going to take us a half hour to get through 20 things or if it's going to take us 5 days. So if it takes 5 days, we'll break this up into several shows. So anyway, you guys, welcome to the show and welcome to Design Biz Live. I'm so excited that we're going to be doing this together. So Corey's on the screen first. Hi, Corey. How are you? And hi, Judith. How are you?
Hi, Luann. Thanks for having us both. We're really excited about this.
Me too. So, and this was, I'll just tell everybody, this was their idea. They came to me with it and I was like, oh, heck yeah, we're doing this. I love it. I just added the video component to it. I was like, let's do it and let's do it video.
I think I put my lashes on straight, right? Yeah.
So, all right. So these are some really brilliant designers and fun people. I'm really expecting this to be a great series for you guys out there for not only entertainment, but also for education. So Corey, get us started with the first thing that you think is really important for an interior designer to do in their interior design firm.
Absolutely. Well, the first thing that I came up with was to be really completely obsessive about drafting and graphic communication. And for God's sake, spell correctly. I can't tell you. Really, we want to make our construction drawings beautiful to look at because we spend a lot of time on them. They should be works of art.
Okay. So tell me, two things go through my mind like that. First one is, why does a construction drawing need to be a work of art? And the other thing is what does it look like if it's not a work? Like, what does a bad construction drawing look like in your mind? What is the contrast between good and bad there?
Well, the latter part of your question is really easy to identify because it's about missing information, things that aren't clearly communicated, and that's where errors and mistakes can happen. What we're doing is we're producing a contract document, so we want to ensure that that contract document is clear from beginning to end, and that pretty much anybody that can read these things can actually understand what it is that we're doing.
Okay.
To go back to the first part is, why is it important? It's really about being fastidious. Love that word. Fastidious about the fundamentals of our job. That's one of the first things that we learn is drafting.
Okay.
And if we don't keep at it, or we don't become an expert at it, that flair or that communication method tends to drop off a little bit, and we really need to keep on top of it.
And so construction drawings are really, it seems to me, they take the place sometimes of you at a project, right? So if a GC is out there and he's working off these drawings and he has a question, if it's not addressed in the drawing, some GCs might make their own decision, right? And say, hey, well, they didn't say what to do, so I'm going to do this.
Right. Or you're going to get a phone call.
Okay.
And how long is that phone call going to take?
Right. And then you got to go and find where that information is. And maybe you're in the middle of an important client meeting or doing whatever you're doing. Okay.
Absolutely.
Corey, so let's say, do you do a construction drawing, like say for only a full renovation, or do you do a construction drawing if somebody is doing, say, well, a kitchen, right? That would be one room that would have a construction drawing. So what do you say, either yourself or somebody in your team? Is it 2 hours to create a good drawing, 10 hours to, like, what time frame goes into creating it? And assume it's a kitchen. Does it matter if we take square footage? Do we do a 15 by 20 kitchen? Like, how do we?
I don't think it matters. I think you should always estimate the number of hours to produce this full set of documents, whether that's specifications and drawings, should be about 100. That's usually where we find it. So
100 hours?
100 hours, but you're layering slowly bits at a time. Judith will have absolutely a different opinion on that.
Right. Now, are we saying 100 hours for like one kitchen renovation? Like a kitchen? Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to share with you like typical.
It depends on your software, right? But
okay, but so this is like a huge aha moment in 18 months on the podcast. I've never known that. And we often talk on the podcast about how it's important to express to your client the amount of work that goes on the back end. And I actually thought you were going to tell me about 10 or 15 hours. I was like, so when you think of the typical client having no clue what you're doing.
Yep. It's layered, right? So when we produce the first set, you're not necessarily producing a final set right out of the gate. Okay. Because you don't have the information that you need to produce it. Okay. So you got to go through the process, go through the steps, right? Never negotiate that process. It's super important to keep those steps in order, and don't advance something beyond something else because you get things out of order.
Okay.
That's
so
where
what
we
you're
can
saying
go back
is
and
when
forth.
you first come to the project, you're going to maybe do like a light layer that doesn't have so many details in it. Maybe it just has where the cabinets go and this and that. But then another layer might put in the plumbing, and another layer might put in the electrical, and another layer starts to put into the crown moldings and stuff, and another layer. Okay, I'm understanding. Yes. So it happens over weeks.
Over weeks.
Okay. Well, that's very interesting. Of course, all the designers probably like, we all know this, Luann. I just didn't know it. And what I'm telling you is that's a very valid thing to me, to make sure that your clients understand the hours that are going to go into creating a document that can live in your place when you're not on a project, that supports their intention and your design, and to not let them think that it's not valuable and the hours that you put into it aren't necessary.
Absolutely.
So I love it. First show, 5 minutes, big aha moment. Slam that. Okay.
But Judith has an opinion on it.
Okay, so Judith, what are we doing? Are we doing a counterpoint, or are we just starting with your first point? Like, how are we going to do this?
Oh God, no, we're not going to get through all the other 19. Okay. I'm like, excuse me, Corey. So.
Yeah, so.
Okay. On my shortened list, install a toilet, upholster a couch, hang wallpaper, mud and prep drywall. In other words, get dirty.
Okay, so you think the number one thing that an interior designer should do is really have some experience executing some of the work that you contract other people to do?
You need to have an understanding of, not only your trades and what's involved in the different aspects of the product that you are hopefully specifying or selling, But there's a respect issue there. So if you have the experience of upholstering a couch, you're going to understand, hey, why you have to order the extra 4 yards of material to have a pattern match.
Okay.
Same thing with mud and prep on drywall and painting. If you don't have an understanding of the skill sets that are required to do that and to do it well and to have it look nice in the end result, then you're not going to be able to connect with those trades. So, install a toilet. Guess what? It happens. Okay? And you need to deal with it.
It's a dirty business.
It's a dirty business. And if you don't have some compassion for that installer or that plumber or that tradesperson, then you're not going to be able to communicate the value of that product and sell with confidence if you don't have an understanding of what they go through.
Well, it's funny that you ended it with that statement, because as you were describing the reasons why that you think it's important that a designer do these things, I was thinking exactly to what I just said to Corey's first thing. It's like, if a consumer has no idea that it takes 100 hours to create a living document that anybody with knowledge can work off of, it's the same thing. As your point is as an interior designer, I go through it all the time with, when you mentioned the 4 yards and, the repeat or the half drop match. I can't tell you the number of times that I'm standing there and really trying to express, I'm sorry, no, I cannot make it with the 19 yards that are left in stock and it's discontinued, and you need 21 yards or 20 yards. It's like, it's just a yard. Well, should I just stop the drape 4 inches short on the one panel? Like, I don't get it. You know what I mean? But at the same time, sometimes, like if it's a drape with 5 or 6 widths and we are 1 yard short, and it's a difference between using that fabric or waiting 6 months for a back order or not having it available at all, I might say to an interior designer, well, here's how I can make it work. I can do single tops as opposed to double turn tops. And then it's a whole discussion on, well, what is a single top? But to your point, if you've spent some time in a drapery workroom, or you've spent some time wallpapering, or spent some time putting in a toilet, you come to the situation with your trade with more confidence and more peer value level, right? I like it. Very, very exciting. All right.
Now, I'll let Corey talk for a moment.
Okay.
Just a bit.
Yes, go ahead, Corey.
Well, my second point, which is really our third point, was really to take accounting classes. Know the difference between a markup and a margin, gross profit, net profit, and how much you cost, not how much you earn, how much you cost.
Right.
And that includes overhead, facilities, equipment to do your job, your hourly rate, getting back and forth, how much you cost.
Right. My husband calls it, how much does it cost every month to keep the doors open? Every single operating expense, every expense related to salary, every expense to everything. He just says every month he redoes it every year, based on, increases in utilities or increases in insurance, or maybe we paid off a vehicle last year and now we don't have an $800 payment. So we know every single year what it costs that year to keep the doors open. And the saying that they say that you don't in the world, like, you're working, well, I don't know, in Canada it might be different, but in the States it's like you're working all the way until August before you make your money, because the first 9 months of the year you're just working to pay your taxes. And so he's just like, every single month until we hit this number, we haven't made any money, folks. You know what I'm saying? We're just out here, robbing Peter and paying Paul, back and forth. Nothing is happening that's staying in the kitty for the end of the year for bonuses or, improvements or anything like that. So I think it's very smart. I think it's right. And then talk about a little bit net margin versus gross margin. I mean, you shared, because these are new terms for some designers.
So for some, I mean, really what probably is the biggest thing is really the difference between markup and margin.
Okay, tell me.
The markup is a factor of which you want to earn your margin. It's not a 1.4 markup equals a 40% margin. It doesn't work that way. That's not how math works.
No.
But I mean, apparently we can't do math because we've got 20 questions. So
So before I fall asleep here,
Tell us.
Okay, my turn, because that's a different podcast.
Oh,
right
all
there.
right. You're
Oh, totally.
straightening us out.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
stop it. Okay, I got
know.
it. Move it
So,
on.
Um.
Um,
We
right.
really got to get those laminated properly, right?
Yes, I will. I will work on that.
I think you should put designs on them, maybe with your logo.
I'll do that. I'll do that. Okay. So mine is work on a finish line at a cabinet manufacturer for 2 weeks, at least 2 weeks.
And will most cabinet manufacturers just let you come in and do that?
No, but
You should try.
You should do it
try.
anyway.
You should call it an intern position and go do it. And the reason I say this, and it kind of tags to what I said previously, is you have to have an understanding of the human element involved. So in my business, I sell product on some jobs, particularly cabinetry. And so the first line of my contract when the homeowner reviews prior to making the purchase is they have to sign off on this. Humans are involved. Okay. Things are going to happen. There are going to be imperfections, period. That's the first line that they have to sign off on.
I love
So
that.
that, well, when
It's so you, by the way. Humans are
Right.
involved.
And it isn't amazing when she says it, you're like, oh.
Exactly. Whoa.
How did I miss that? But what happens is in today's world, we have this expectation that everything is going to come perfect. Okay, that wood is perfect, that everything is perfect, that stone is perfect. It's perfect, perfect, perfect. We have this expectation because we live in this completely unrealistic computer-generated reality. Okay, and the backstory is that, you know what? The stuff that comes from China may not be the best product because they don't have maybe the quality standards that we do here in American-made product or in North American-made product. But the end game here is that humans are involved.
Right.
So, and having that understanding that that error or that potential for imperfection is just in the nature of the business helps lessen the surprise or shock value when something does go wrong. Guess what? I told you to expect it. Now we're just going to deal with it.
I love it, Judith. I love it. And when you've shown that as the first line of a contract, most people, I would think that some people, I think most people crack up, and then some people are like, but that's not real. I don't have to sign that, right? And you're like, no, sweetie, you do.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I make them sign it.
Yes, yes,
I
yeah.
make it.
No, I love that. I love that. Very good. Because, you know, and I deal with that in window works. You know, it's like some people will be like, the drape is installed and, you know, they're saying it's not hanging straight. It's flaring out at the bottom. And I'm like, it's fabric. Like, you got that part, right? Like, I can't make it do something, you know? So very clever. I like it.
All right.
Humans are involved.
Good.
All right. All right, Corey, you're up.
Well, number 75. We want to visualize the details. Stand in the room, be there for 5 minutes, and design it in your mind. And if you can't do that, you're going to have trouble getting through the process. And that's probably one thing that's really been good for me for successfully is I'm a 3D thinker first. I see all the elements. I can kind of do takeoffs just by staring at the wall, and I'm able to really break down a room and understand how things need to flow. So the visualizing the details is key.
Very nice.
Very key.
I like it.
Some of it may be like, yeah, that's of course, but no, I see it time and time again. Can't visualize the details.
Right. And the thing is, sometimes it's like you said, there maybe a less seasoned designer just isn't giving thought to standing there and taking it in and taking the moment to attempt to do it, which is right. I like it. It's just pointing out the need to make the attempt to do it. And then it seems to me, just like almost anything that you do inward, the more you practice it, the more adept that you get at doing it.
Right. It's exactly like you're visualizing yourself drawing it as you're in the room.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I love it.
All right.
All righty.
So in contrast to that, Run the plumbing for your bath design and then do the tile installation. Did the shower head land on a grout line? So this is a fundamental disconnect that we, again, do everything virtually and we have this expectation that the math is perfect. But the reality is that, you know, what happens on a job site versus your drawings versus life versus product versus just the variation in the installation process. You know, if you don't have respect for the trades and when the plumbing is being located and understanding how it's being located, then how does it impact the tile? Let's say if you're, because I can't tell you how many times I've gone to a job site and I'm like, ooh, missed it by that much, okay? And in not necessarily in my jobs because they go perfect.
Perfect every time.
Other people's
on
jobs.
other designers' jobs, okay? But
God forbid DIYers' jobs.
right. And if there had been sort of that forethought of, all right, this is what happens with the plumbing, this is what happens with the tile, this is the variation. Because again, a 1/16 of an inch, an 1/8 of an inch, a 1/4 of an inch can make a difference in the details. And if you're not thinking through from what happens at stud wall to what happens to finished end and thinking about that, you're going to miss some details that are critical. You can only get that through hands-on experience.
Okay. And did you say to begin that, Judith, that you're suggesting that they don't do the tile design until they see the finished rough plumbing in? Is that what you said? I missed the beginning of how you described
No, it's part of it is thinking through how does the placement of the say the shower head as an example, okay, or the controls, how does it relate to the tile that's being installed?
Okay, so you're just saying think about it from the beginning.
Think it through.
Actually plan it.
Yeah.
And if you have to have a meeting with the plumber on site to say this is where the shower head is going to be, then take that information back to your planning for the tile design.
Right. So this
Okay.
is about that partnership. It's about not only, it's one thing to be a designer and put it on paper. Okay. It's another thing to actually get out there and see what happens and experience the physicality of what changes and
Right.
how small dimensional changes impact the overall finish quality.
Right. Well, I mean, that's logical. If you have a shower wall that's 5 or 6 feet wide and it's off a 1/4 of an inch, that 1/4 of an inch is going to throw the tile all the way across, you know. So,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I love it. All right.
All right.
Good advice.
Well, my next point makes me kind of nervous, and I think a lot of people are going to need to hold onto their seats for a second, because don't think for a second that going out on your own is going to be easy. It is the hardest. Can we swear?
I don't
No.
think we can, because I don't think I
already.
can get it.
It's going to be the hardest stuff you've ever done in your whole entire life, but it's so rewarding. It's so much fun. I go out, I leave the door every day. Like, I did this. I built this. It's me. I built this thing. It's mine, but it's incredibly hard every single day.
Right.
So
Right.
let go of your chairs for a second. Don't float up on the balloons or anything. Right.
No, it's true. I mean, any business owner needs to understand that. You have to have the stomach for it. You have to have the stomach for the problems. That's really what it is. And you have to have the passion for what you do so that when the problems come, because they will come, whether it's people
Absolutely.
problems, product problems, accounting problems, whatever the problems are, they're coming. Don't
Right, and-
always tell my people, don't get out of bed if you think you're not making a mistake. Don't get out of bed if you don't think there's going to be a problem. Just stay home, because that's
Right.
the place it's not going to happen.
One thing that we tried to switch around within my team is stop saying problem altogether. And I thought that was really key, because it actually allowed us to kind of open up a little bit more and say, oh, it's not, that word doesn't exist in the statement. So the only option is to solve.
Right.
It's the only option.
Good. I love it. I love it. Very good. All righty.
Ready?
Yeah.
All
Ready.
right. Date a lawyer and learn how to argue effectively. There is a difference. Okay. Well, I'm pretty sure there's not a school. Well, there might be a school out there on how to argue effectively, or maybe
I know there's this. I'm going to tell you, we had a guest on Power Talk Friday, Kwame Christian from the Negotiation Institute. They should go back. I didn't know you were going to say that, so I don't have the episode, but you're so spot on, Judith.
Okay. Because one of the huge challenges in our industry is there's always conflict. Okay. And conflict comes from, a variety of things, and we don't have to go down that path. But conflict also comes up in forms of communication, not only with homeowner, but with tradespeople. So it isn't necessarily an arguing. It's not that you're arguing back and forth. It is really about problem solving. Okay, so how do you get to what is the issue and what is the conflict, either from the homeowner's conflict about what's happening or what's not happening sometimes. And then arguing isn't necessarily a personal attack, but it's how do you resolve it and how do you do it effectively. So it's a bit of debating about providing your own personal perspective, but then it's also a professional perspective, and you have to get there in a way that provides resolution and doesn't create more conflict.
Right. And there are legitimate steps that you can learn and skills that you can learn in order to be a better negotiator. It's one of my favorite things next to sales to talk about. I love negotiation. I love, and Kwame Christian was on the show, and he really went through, and of course he's got a podcast, and we'll put it in the show notes for this episode. But you are so right, because you want to resolve a problem. If you want to argue a problem, you don't need any skills. You can just argue. But if you want a solution with your contractor, your vendor, or your client, then you need skill sets in order to develop the skill set to listen, to rephrase what you understood, to clarify what you're trying to say, and to do it without emotion, and to do it without making the situation any more inflamed than it might already be. So I love that one.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you.
Well, to parlay that over a little bit, I would say, and this is a little bit of a tricky one, and Luann, you're going to have a lot of feedback on this probably, is really use solid contracts with clients, but don't kill them with contracts.
Okay.
Right? But you want to use solid contracts. ASID actually has a set of contracts that you can purchase.
Oh, okay.
And they're generalized, and you still have to go through the loophole. And the other thing is, you had somebody on a podcast recently, and she was a lawyer.
Danielle Liss.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when I listened to that, I was like, wow, if she was Canadian, I would be
She might be able to help you. I'm going to tell you what, Corey, she might be able to help you because her business is an online business. And so I wouldn't assume that she doesn't know.
I wouldn't assume that she isn't either. Exactly.
Right.
So,
well, and Kwame is also a lawyer too, but Danielle is a lawyer that specializes in the creative field, in design bloggers, lifestyle bloggers, interior designers. And the other really cool thing about Danielle is, if you remember from the show, you can call her for a one-off 1 hour conversation and ask for advice on a particular line item in your existing contract. You don't have to have her on retainer for 90 hours and cost you 10 grand.
Yeah. And that's actually a brilliant bit of business model too, by the way, for design professionals. So just kind of throwing that one out there too.
I know. I heard her on another podcast. I was like, oh, I have to get her over here.
Yeah,
I even recommended that Adam Jacko invite her to the Design Bloggers Conference next year because I thought it was a valuable topic. So
it was so profound, right? Just hearing, I'm like, wow, that's actually a simplified way of taking something that's really litigious and it's just saying, okay, you know what? Let's take the litigious out of this and make it really easy for everybody.
Yeah.
So that was really smart of her.
Yeah. So you have, your suggestion is that they should have their own contracts or download the ASID contracts if they're an ASID member. But the point is to have contracts.
Yeah. I'm not an ASID member. I mean, I'm in Canada. I still bought them.
Oh, you can buy them from ASID.
Yeah.
If you're not a member. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. We should get residual sale, money.
Right. I want commission ASID. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Good point. It's the truth. It seems obvious, but you can't overlook that there should be contracts.
You can't overlook it. I mean, you can call it a letter of agreement if you want to, but yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
All right.
You ready? Ready for another one? Okay.
Yep.
Take out your nose ring. Go to work at Nordstrom for a year and learn how to dress.
Oh my goodness.
Find a style somewhere between Brad Pitt and Iris Apfel. Just saying.
Why don't you just tell us what you really think?
Okay. So let me expound on this. I was observing now I'm a little bit old school, so not because of age, but just because I have no reason why I'm old school. I can't even justify it. There's no rational thought
I
process
just
there.
started.
I know.
So did I. It's like it's happening.
But so what I observe oftentimes is I see trade professionals speaking at conferences. I mean, I saw one, and in fairness, they were on a stage, they were with other trade professionals, and they had looked like they had been at the Oregon Country Fair, hippie festival, okay? And my inner dialogue was, geez, put the sandals away, okay?
Yeah.
And that's just me, okay? I got a little worked up about it, but what I experienced, no surprise there. What I experienced here, I was struggling one day, like, oh my God, what do I wear? And my husband says to me, it's a jeans day. I go, honey, every day is a jeans day here. Okay? I wear jeans to work every day. You're looking at me from the top up, but believe me, I'm wearing jeans below.
Right.
And because what's very challenging in my community is if I dress like a designer,
Then it's too snooty for them.
it's
right?
way too snooty, and they think I'm not from here. They also have this perception that I'm really expensive. Well, you know what? I might be, but there is this assumption that they make about me because I kind of don't fit if I'm overdressed. At the same time, if I go into the city for a project, I can't get away with jeans.
No.
I've got to dress designery.
Right.
And the biggest challenge is, do you overdress? Do you underdress? I mean, what is a style that's appropriate, fairly neutral, that still makes a personal statement without, I should say, challenging your customers' sensibilities. Now, I don't want to talk about, dressing to your demographic, but it is very challenging to put together something that is artistically appropriate, says that you're a creative person, but, you also have to find a way to be neutral, not dress above, not dress below, but dress appropriate. And today, some of the styles involve tattoos. So like, when do you cover up your tattoos? When do you take out your nose ring? When is it appropriate to put your earplugs in for the client that you're working with? So, or whatever they're called. Anyways, so that was my take, is really find a style that works and is appropriate to not only your client base, but makes you comfortable, but maintains a level of professionalism.
Right. And I like your suggestion, because you're not just blanket saying that you always have to be dressed up because you're a designer. You're really making the valid point. You're dressing to your demographic. You're dressing to you're dressing to where your client is comfortable. You're dressing appropriate for the situation. So you could be in your area in Vashon where it's more casual and people have to not feel like you're like the big city girl coming in and trying to like take over the design land of the island. But even, I'm sure, meetings that happen at your studio versus a meeting that happens on a construction site probably even has a little bit of difference in there. Maybe the shoes are different. Maybe it's a nice ballet flat or it's a boot. No,
not really.
You're good. Okay. So you don't have to step out of that.
But you're right.
You don't have to step out of that until you go to a city meeting, is what you're
right.
Okay.
Okay. It's really different because here, with us anyway, it's really about dress comfortably. You're in a chair all day, usually, unless you're out on the job. And I really doesn't bother me whether you have a tattoo or piercing or you come dressed up with heels or not, or sneakers.
About your employees, though. Now you're talking about employees, and
no,
those employees
he's talking
going
about himself.
I'm talking about myself. I'm wearing running shoes right now. I mean,
but are you going to a client like that at any given day, or if you had client meetings today, you would be different?
If I had a client meeting today, I probably wouldn't be in shorts and a plaid shirt and sneakers. Yeah,
well, I think that's Judith's point, right?
Yeah, there's a little bit of, depending on the temperature outside, we don't have air conditioning in here, so if it's hot, we're in shorts. Sorry.
Right. But even you can put on shorts and go to a client meeting and be put together and still have shorts and be at a client meeting. And there's a way that looks like you were, after this, you're running to the baseball field. I mean, there are two different ways to do it.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
And I agree. And I think that it's a well-made point, because I feel like younger interior designers do think that they can get away with whatever is fashionable as opposed to what's appropriate. And there are just some things that I'm just stand there and look at them. I'm like, okay.
Appropriate.
They're not, you look amazing, but that's not the point. You know what I mean?
Let's move around the job site, right?
Yes,
You
yes.
probably
I
should
always
have
call
come
it
in here in high
Saturday night
heels.
clothes. So it's like, I got Saturday night clothes too, but they don't come out on Tuesday afternoon.
Mine are just pajamas. But anyway.
All right. Well, we've lost that topic. All right.
All right, Corey, you're up.
So, and this is probably going to be, a lot of people are going to kind of give a little feedback on this one, but really take credit cards. Find a way, take credit cards. The fee that they charge, and in my world anyway, the fee that gets charged usually is offset by the amount of work to actually deposit the check.
Mm-hmm.
So, I got to do the deposit slip. I got to go run to the bank. Someone's got to run to the bank. And then you got to come back, and then you got to enter it all. And
Mm-hmm.
that.
And you get paid quicker, faster, easier if they can just
Right.
have the credit card on account.
Exactly. Whereas, if the bank was across the street for
Right.
me,
Right.
that might be a different set of circumstances, but it's not.
Well,
It's
and
down the
like you said,
road.
though, it also just clogs down the process of collecting your money. I
Right.
know it with WindowWorks. I just had a client this morning say, "Oh, I'll mail you a check," and I wanted to say, "Can't you just give me the card right now? I'll have the money right
Yeah.
now." I'm like, "Oh, okay, mail a check, whatever," because then you have to wait for them to really do it and then put it in the mail. And if you're like me, I'm not going to write it for 3 days. I'm going to carry it around for like a week, and then I'm finally going to give it to Vinny and go, "Would you mail this for me, please?"
Right. Exactly.
So, but it's
Exactly.
part of doing business. Just be grown up and take credit cards. I like it.
Yeah. Love it.
All right. Okay, next one. Learn grace under pressure.
Mm.
Experience and manage customer triage. Work at a big box store for a year.
Okay.
Very underestimated to be in a retail environment and learning to manage multiple clients at the same time and maintain grace and be able to think on your feet and do problem solving. So really, if you're starting out as a designer and rather than go sit in a beautiful firm in downtown Vancouver, working next to Corey, go out and experience a retail environment, be it a plumbing showroom, be it a big box store. Just spend some time in the public because you will learn how to manage literally the challenge is to learn how to deal with pressure and learn customer triage and then maintain a level of professionalism. Very valuable skill. Can't learn it on a podcast, can't learn it from a YouTube video, can't learn it from watching a TED Talk. You got to go live it.
No,
I don't hire without it.
Do you really? Okay.
Don't hire without it.
That they've had retail experience?
Retail or service. Absolutely.
Wow.
The more, the better.
Right.
That urgency, that sense of urgency is actually very relevant in a fast-paced business. And that's where it comes back to know how much you cost.
Right.
Like, in those environments that you got a sales objective, you have targets that you have to reach. You know what those environments are like.
Right.
So that's a brilliant thing to do.
Yeah, and to Judith's point is you're learning, like you said, to be under pressure with your bosses, which is your point. But to Judith's point, in a retail environment, you could be in the middle of handling a client positive or negative interaction, and another one just walks in the door and is like, "My thing got delivered wrong, and I need it fixed now." And now, like you said, Judith, you've got this scenario happening, and how do you handle it with grace, and how do you diffuse the situation and not like any one person feel like they're not worth your front and center attention at that moment.
Yep. Very
I like
good.
it. Very
good.
insightful.
Good.
Well, and to balance that.
No, Corey, you have to go on to your next point because
because
you need to focus. You need to focus, Corey.
That's right. So we really want to think about.
That would be another thing. Learn how to focus.
Right. So we're 75, 90 points. Anyway, so I think it's really important to follow through on everything. Think about the big picture and those unresolved little things hanging around. Holy cow.
They're the worst.
Nip those in the bud.
They're the worst. Just face it and do it. Just do it.
Yeah. Put your tail between your legs.
Yeah.
Go.
And it's like one of those things, do the hardest thing first, right? That's like
Yep.
the thing that you keep kicking to the corner all week. I hate
Yep.
when I do that. I have to say I work against that a lot and I'm successful, but there are weeks where I'm like, oh, isn't this awesome? This has been on my to-do list since Monday and it's Friday. Like Luann,
Mhm.
big girl panties. Let's go. Get
Let's
it.
go. GSD.
Okay. I love it. I love it.
All right. Now, you're probably wondering what my next one is.
I am.
Okay. Go old school. Learn how to use a Sharpie and a paper to quick sketch your concepts. Okay. This is just basic artistic ability. Everyone is, again, so dependent on technology. I can have my tablet. I can draw it on my tablet. It's like, no, just pick up a piece of paper and a pen, and if a homeowner has trouble visualizing what is that end table and that couch going to look like, and what is this going to feel like, just do low tech, old school, quick sketch.
Right. Right.
Homeowners are so impressed, regardless of age, of that sort of ability, because it is truly a visualization of the creative process. Okay, because you can just do it on the computer and render it really quickly. No.
Right. Right.
So it is again, old school. Sorry to keep bagging on that, but it is a respected art amongst computer animation. You think it through first not against, but any artist is process of visualizing a project or visualizing a piece of artwork. There's some very quick sketching ideas to storyboard it out.
Okay.
So,
Is that, Judith, is it something that is taught in design school? Because not everybody has the ability to see things. Right.
No.
So can it be learned?
It can, and actually you should go to a true art school.
Take
and
life
learn
drawing.
sketching. Life drawing.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Right? Do it with the nude model in front of you. Get over that hump.
Wow. Okay. I wasn't going to go down that path, but it's not a skill that's taught anymore in schools, and particularly the design schools. It is a lost art. You do have to go to an art school to learn that. Very, very valuable tool.
Is it something that you can learn if you don't have innate drawing
Yes.
gifts?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Totally.
Yeah.
Oh,
Totally.
And it's just again a technique that is very impressive, very respectful.
earned
When a
respect.
homeowner sees you doing this and thinking through, they're like, "Wow."
Yeah,
That's
I could see that.
That's not a
I
skill.
can see that it would be a nice little tool to have in your arsenal there, so that it would make it a good impression.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when I was in art school, and we would have to do 3-second sketches.
Yep.
You take a pen that's dipped in ink, and you gotta get it done.
Wow.
And you're lined up on your drawing horses in the whole room, and everybody can see everybody's boards, right? It's so intimidating.
Wow.
But that skill was probably something that I will always treasure for the rest of my life.
So if somebody has not had the opportunity to have any of this, doesn't have the skill and hasn't had it in their schooling, is it something that they could just do one semester class at night and pick it up in 3 or 4 months, at least the rudimentary, to just be able to do what you're saying in the project?
Right.
Or is it
It's
more involved?
It's not a 4-year degree in quick
No, right. It's just like it's a class. Just find a night school class and a decent teacher, and just put some little
and
pen
have
to
some fun
paper.
with it.
Okay, I love it. That's a great idea.
Exactly.
Good job.
Well, I say this a lot within my team, is that we really need to document everything. Document everything. You never know when you're going to need it. And that includes your little scribbles on the side of a drawing.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Put it all in the folder. Put it all in there.
Yep.
Put it all in there. And then when the job's done, oh, what does that say? Doesn't matter anymore, right? But you documented it.
Right.
Yeah.
I love it.
Even if it's a little sketch on the side, I mean, that's usually what we do. So
Yep.
document everything.
It's true. I mean, at WindowWorks, I always say to them that if you're not in the office, there should be enough notes attached to that order, a client's order, that if you never walk back in that showroom again, I know exactly what happened. I know
Yep.
where we are, what the status is, what's happening. If there was a problem, was the problem ordered? Is we waiting for whatever? And because what the biggest thing that people do is they put enough information to jog their memory, they hope, but somebody else looking at it, it doesn't make enough sense to. So my thing is, I always say to them, you need to make this sound like a 5-year-old could, if you read this to a 5-year-old, they would understand this. I said, that's how I want these notes. So,
And if you're a lovely solo entrepreneur or solo business owner, and hey, not knocking that off at all, because I think it's a lovely thing, and I would love to be able to do that again sometime soon. Maybe, I don't know. We'll figure it out.
we don't let your employees hear this.
They're over there. But even now, I sketch something while I'm having a client meeting, or I write a note, and it doesn't matter if it's free flowing or whatever. It doesn't have to be in a notebook. It's on a piece of scrap paper, and that scrap paper gets into the project.
Mm-hmm.
So at least it's all being there. And then what we do is we transpose those notes right away into some sort of documentation software.
Good for you.
Send them to the client, right? It's all there.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right. Design something and build it. Not 3D model it, but get sawdust on you.
She's one hard cookie, I got to tell you. She is getting a tool belt on every designer in North America and across the world if it's the last thing she does.
Well, again, this goes back to this, we can model it and then use 3D printers to build it, right? So we have this process or this expectation that I can come up with this incredibly wonderful thing, but I don't necessarily have the skill sets, the knowledge, or the experience to physically build it, because I can just push a little button and somebody will build it somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
So when I came out of design school, I knew I didn't want to be a residential designer.
Whoops.
Kind of got what I didn't expect, right? There's a law of attraction for you. So one of the things is I went and enrolled in cabinet making and millwork. So I spent 2 years in a cabinet and millwork course, and I was the only female in the class. And so between learning how to run the equipment, how to manipulate materials, how to build things, how to design, more importantly, how to design things and then to build them. Because in the process of the design, so I had this vision, right, of this huge giant thing I wanted to build. And I'm like, well, great. Now how am I going to do it? I have to reverse engineer it and figure out how to build it. Okay. And so, in full disclosure, I own more power tools than my husband. Right? So I bought a compressor and a whole, anyways, for myself a couple of years ago as a Christmas present. So yes, I own more tools than most men do. But when you have that knowledge of how to physically build something, okay, then it opens up creative possibilities that you may not have explored before, because you have a fundamental understanding of how things are put together. Okay?
I love it.
So it's like, as an example, you design an island for a kitchen project. Well, no, it doesn't come fully assembled in a box and you add water and it explodes into action, okay? You have to assemble the parts and pieces, so you have to think like an installer. You have to think like you're going to build it yourself, and what are the components and parts and pieces. And while, yeah, we can take parts and pieces from cabinet manufacturers and put them together like Legos and make something beautiful. But understanding from a design concept, here's your vision, how does that physically get built? And do it. Freaking do it yourself.
That's it, man. Alive. Everybody is going to be like, okay, I have to go spend time at a box store. I have to go spend time at a finishing, studio for cabinetry. I have to build cabinets.
You have to date a lawyer. You have to get ASID contracts. Yeah. So keep going.
Take nude drawing. What's going on here?
That's right.
What's happening today?
Drawing school.
Take nude drawing with the lawyer. Okay.
Right.
2 in 1.
You gotta multitask, people. You gotta think about how you can multitask.
Time is money. Yeah.
All right, Corey, you got one more.
Yeah. Don't cheap out on software and solutions. They are your best efficiency machine. And this is probably a bit of a bigger scope picture, but you can earn your keep with an excellent, efficient, and productive software. Absolutely. And that includes everything from a drawing program all the way to a client management software solution, all the way down to an accounting solution. It's like, get off those free things already.
Right.
They don't serve you. They're not going to elevate you or
Mhm.
push you into the next realm where you want to go.
Right.
Spend the money, do it right,
Right.
be a big girl with your big burrow panties on, whatever, or big boy with your big underwear. I don't know.
Be a grown-up.
Yeah, do it. Do it. Own it.
I love it. I love it. Do you have suggestions on different software that you use in your firm?
We use a variety because we work in multiple avenues. We work anywhere from a commercial space all the way to just a simple kitchen. So
Okay.
one software that we have been wanting to switch to for many, many years now, I actually bought 2 versions of it and I just haven't got the time. That's another thing. Find time, right? But it's Chief Architect actually.
Oh, I've had guests mention that.
Yeah, it is another level. But what we probably would be able to do in our process is we could probably, I'm going to say this very plainly and explicitly. You can do the same amount of work, charge the same amount of money, or you can do less work and charge the same amount of money.
Right.
And that's
Has a
what
value.
you need to be smart with, right?
Right.
So yeah, the
You
value
spent-
is
you
there.
spent the money for the program, so don't negate that expense when you're coming up with
And
your
yeah,
price.
and do it all in it, right?
Very
Don't
cool.
just like, oh, I can't do it in here. Yeah, you can.
Well, in typical fashion, we have miscounted. So apparently you have 9 top 10 things, and I've done 9 top 10 things. So apparently I skipped one. So I will
rolling back up.
Yeah, I'm going to roll back up. So I think one of the top 10 things I could offer to designers, regardless of where you are in the field, is do the math. Okay. Learn math. But here's my closing comment is learn the difference between a professional rejection and a personal one. Okay. They may not like you, but they should at least respect you. And because as designers, our business and who we are is tied to our creativity, which is obviously a hugely personal statement. And so if there is a rejection, it's very hard to separate, well, was it a personal rejection because it's connected to me personally and my creativity, or was it simply a professional one? And if that rejection, why was there a rejection?
Mm-hmm.
And it's very difficult to have the perspective to be able to have the perspective to step outside of yourself and look at that. And that's not easily learned. Okay. And it happens through experience. And the first 20, 30, 40, 50 times are the most painful. Not that it's happened to me. Okay.
No.
Where's my armor? Anyway, not that it happens to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of that professional grace that you need to develop. And part of that is armoring up and protecting yourself against letting that rejection, for some reason it didn't work out, not become a personal one. Okay. So bless them and send them on their way.
Okay. See, I think that's an interesting perspective. And when you describe it, of course, it makes complete sense to me. It's not something that I've experienced. It's not something I share because I'm always coming at it from the sales standpoint. And I think that it's no secret that I have learned in the last year and a half how deeply passionate and how intertwined you designers are with what you do. In other words, it is in your core. Every designer I've spoken to on the program is like, I just love it. I love it. I love doing it. I love creating it. The fact that you spend hours looking at the different things on Instagram and reading the magazines and everything. I've had just recently, Darla Powell was on, and she was a sergeant in the police force at Miami-Dade for 18 and a half years. She launched her business 6 months ago. She already has clients. And I said, and she's like, that's all I ever did in my free time was read about it, learn about it, enjoy it. And we have a window treatment company, but I always say to anybody who listens, look, I'm good at it, by the way. I'm actually really good at color and scale and perspective and designing window treatments. But he started the business like a minute and a half before I met him. And if it was a copier company, we'd have an awesome copier company right now. I mean, that's the truth of it. So it's something I've learned in the last year with speaking with all of you guys. And so that is an easy leap for me to make, that when you have been turned down and a client hasn't accepted your proposal to go forward with you, that you could take it as a gut to the, a shot to the stomach. Like, what? You know what I mean? Whereas me, I'm like, okay, moving on. Next one. There's 5 more waiting for my quotes. Let's get it going.
And
so
it may not be a client to designer rejection. It may be a boss rejecting an employee, or you as the employee. And it's usually not a personal matter.
Right.
Well, unless it is, which is a whole nother matter. But I think it's really profound. And if you can lead through, don't stop you from leading through your heartstrings, right? But it's really profound.
No, but you have to develop, like Judith said, some armor. And for me, I would say it's perspective. To me, it goes back to when you are surprised and upset as an entrepreneur, as a self person, as someone in their own business, that there's a problem today. It's like, you're not going to close every sale. You're not going to close every contract. You're not going to get every job that you apply for, every position that, even if you take Judith's advice and go work for a box store, not everyone is going to hire you. So I think that I just am a little bit more like Judith has been sharing a lot of cutthroat, like, just do this, just do this, just do this. And that's where my cutthroat comes out. I'm like, you're not getting every contract. Don't worry about it. Don't stand there and wallow about the one you didn't get, because I know that the universe puts in your path the ones that you're supposed to do. And if you didn't get it, if you know you did your best, if you know you presented the best project, if you know all of those things, then you didn't get it because it's not supposed to be yours. And if you had a crystal ball, you would know that it wasn't yours. Now, if you didn't get it because, you went out with your friends till midnight and didn't do a good proposal, if you didn't get it because you you schlocked something together, that's a different story. You're not being a professional business person.
Or if you didn't get it because you left your nose ring in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, but your point is well made, is develop a professional perspective on everything that you do, so that you don't get a gut check on the things that don't come to fruition.
Yeah.
And
always be closing.
And I have the compassion for having a disappointment about it. But you can't get paralyzed is the point. You can't walk out and not expect it. And when it happens, you can't be paralyzed. You just got to push through. I love it. Good for you.
Absolutely.
Good advice. You guys, it's so funny because you both have such complete different tips, but they're all so good. Like, it's like hysterical. Like, it's like the yin and the yang of what you need to do in order to have a successful firm. I love it.
And I think, sometimes what Judith and I can do is we'll create the list like this, and they're contrasting, but you know what? We totally came up with the same list.
Yes, right. Well, yeah, and what it is a lot of things are the same, but they're expressed in a different way. Like, you have a different passion point on it. So when Judith is saying, make sure you understand the trades and make sure you understand what goes into creating something and all of that, I would just jump on a leap and say, you can't create a beautiful construction document if you don't know how to do those things. So it's sort of the same, but different, you can't do one without the other, and different way to look at it. I think it's awesome.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I think this was a raving success. I'm not sure about anybody else, but I think it's a raving success.
We got Luann all worked up.
That's it.
She's on fire.
That's it. She's live. I have to tell you guys, it's so funny because when I was trying to think of the name to call this, share this with everybody, of course, anybody who wants to be on our email list, they can simply text the word Design Biz without any caps and without any spaces, Design Biz to the number 444-999. So that's our thing. We have that going on. So then I was like, okay, we're going to do Design Biz chats, Design Biz talk. But the funny thing is I kept in anticipation of this because you guys are so much fun and you make me be my real like crazy self. All of my kids are all like from 28 to older, right? And when we're all together at an event and like, I'm so happy that they've all gathered and maybe it's like the first 15 or 20 minutes, but everybody's coming in the door and this and that. And then I'm like, and you're here and you're this and this and that and the other thing. And then all of a sudden one of them will go, oh my, mom's live. Or lose live, you know what I mean? So I just thought, well, it's going to be Design Biz Live. That's what it is.
Good deal.
So, all righty, guys. Well, I do thank you so much for spending your time with us. And I just want to remind everybody that this will be posted to the Luann Nigara Facebook page, and this will be posted to the A Well-Designed Business YouTube page, and this will be featured. We will strip the audio out and have it as a podcast. And then, of course, Corey has a YouTube page. It's called Corey Klassen, and Judith doesn't have one yet. We're going to work on that. And then, of course, they are both going to share it to their personal Facebook pages, since this is not really facing to their consumers. So if you want to go to Facebook and friend all three of us, Corey Klassen, Judith Neary, and Luann Nigara, and then what'll happen is we are going to, I think we did a really good job this time, and I think I could attempt the Facebook Live streaming as we're doing it. So we'll try that for next time. And then everybody, all of you out there, you can join in with us while we're doing it. I don't know if I can talk and read questions at the same time, not making any promises. It's like balls juggling. I'm not sure about that, but we can try. So, and then you guys, before we sign off, share your website addresses so all the designers listening can find the two of you.
Sure. Crap.
I forgot it.
Okay. I will share your website address.
Mine's just Corey Klassen. That's CoreyKlassen.ca. Okay. And all of my social media is at the bottom of the page there. And you can kind of read about us, what we do, whatever, all that kind of fun stuff.
Good. And Judith?
I'll pull yours up.
Come on, are you
on it? I'm all under pressure.
Aren't you roadsideattractionsstudio.com?
Yes, roadsideattractionsstudio.com.
Or is it roadsideattractionsdesignstudio.com?
No,
roadsideattractionsstudio.com.
Okay.
Just look it up.
Really bad. Oh my God, how embarrassing. Well,
okay then.
So there you go.
All righty, guys. This has been a ton of fun. I hope that our colleagues like it as much as we did. I have to say, because I really love to keep doing it. So thank you so much for joining me on a Well-Designed Business.
Thank you, Luann, and thank you, Corey.
Thanks, Luann. Thanks, Judith.
All right.
Thank you for joining me again today for another episode of A Well-Designed Business. This podcast is a production of WindowWorks in Livingston, New Jersey, your trade resource for custom window treatments and awnings. Learn more about WindowWorks at www.windowworks-nj.com. All of our music is original music by Room 2 Productions. Please contact us if you want to learn more about original music for your business or your events.